Welcome to Watching Dead, the officially unofficial podcast for The Walking Dead on AMC. I'm Jim.
I'm Aaron.
And today we're talking about Season 9, Episode 8, titled Evolution. Fitting title. This is the mid-season finale for people who are kind of following along at home in real time with us. This, it was aired in November of whatever year, 1867, I don't know.
I think so.
They took, their traditional break to February for the next episode. Aaron, what'd you think of this one?
I really like this episode. I think that there is something The Walking Dead did really well in the first season or two that they haven't quite done as well is atmospherics. Because I think they take the cheap route of we're sweaty running through a hot Georgia forest, so let's just lean into that. We're sweaty and we're running through a hot Georgia forest. Mm-hmm. There's a couple of these shots that I thought did a really good job of establishing the mystery and kind of the dread, particularly when Jesus, Aaron, and Daryl are hot on the trail of Eugene, and they're walking across this field that's shrouded in fog, and you can see a barn sticking out of it, and then the graveyard shot is something straight out of an old Hammer horror film.
Yes.
And probably intentionally that way. Uh-huh. And I just fucking loved it. And, the establishing of what's going on with these walkers, hearing them kind of whisper, the one that dodged Jesus kill stroke, and the discovery of the true nature of them. I thought all that stuff was really, really well done. Mm-hmm. They're doing some really interesting stuff with Negan. It is still starting to try my patience, this keeping mystery, whatever fucking massive rift. Every single episode, we find out that this rift between the especially Hilltop and Alexandria is just bigger and bigger, between Alexandria and all the different things. Some shit went down in the no man's land between these things, and I definitely invested in it, but I don't understand the narrative value of keeping it a mystery. So that's the one. That's the one huge structural flaw I see in this episode, or in this half of the season so far. What do you think?
I largely agree. My first viewing of this, I had my mind was reeling at the idea that somehow in this dense fog-covered landscape that you're talking about, in a cemetery that I'm not even sure is on the route that they were supposed to be on, that Michonne could somehow meet up with Aaron and Daryl and all. And I went back the second time and I realized they did just the barest amount, just enough to make me think, okay, maybe this is possible. And so I that kind of turned me from hating that last scene to being okay, well, let me sit back and look at it from a wider perspective. Because some of the best stuff The Walking Dead's done, in my opinion, as a classic horror fan, is when they do these homages to things. You're talking about the Hammer horror stuff, the Draculas and the mummies and the Wolfmans, things like that.
Sure.
Very much, that graveyard feels like that, or it feels like some of this old classic zombie stuff where the fog rolls in and that's, when the dead come out. Things like
thunder
that.
And the lightning and the whistling through the wind, through the trees. Yeah,
that's real good. And then one of my favorite episodes from an homage perspective is the one where the governor is chasing Andrea, I think, through that building, and it's very much a slasher, Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of thing. They really nail that when they go for it. And I was on second watch able to kind of sit back and go, okay, I see what they're going for here, and it's really working for me.
Yeah. And I didn't ever see the problems with the plot. I remember thinking how the fuck did they find Eugene? And then I'm oh, well, Daryl had a dog. And then from that point on, I got really invested. I was genuinely worried for some of the characters. I was kind of shocked that they killed Jesus. And I guess that's something I want to discuss at the end of the episode, whether we think Jesus is actually dead. But I was just really caught up in gee, are they going to be able to get out of here? Because at this point, I'm assuming from episode, season 9 on, any of the main cast could die at any time.
Yeah.
Like people are looking like if there's not enough zeros at the end of your renewal contract, and and if any of the major characters, like even Rosita, something like Rosita dying,
Yeah.
would be a fairly noteworthy event. Let alone something like Daryl or Carol or Ezekiel, or Michonne, for God forbid. I think that's adding a lot of charge. The fact that this show is long in the tooth and gray in the hair is adding a lot more emotional charge, because I feel, and I haven't kept up with any of the shit. Like I was
Same
shocked
here.
that Jesus got stabbed. So it's like at any time, I think any of these people can go. On the other hand, there's always a chance that they're going to dumpster him. So
Sure.
it's because it is The Walking Dead. But I think that serves it well. The fact that like at this point, Andrew Lincoln's gone. So many people are gone that like at any point anyone could die, and that's exactly the way The Walking Dead should have always felt.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, against all odds, I continue to be super invested into this fucking season of The Walking Dead.
Yeah, they got to be careful with that though. Like, you can kill too many of the wrong characters, like too many characters that people like, and leave yourself with only characters that people don't like or don't have like strong attachments to. And
I think
this show does not do great with its ensemble cast. It's
right.
granted, it's a big cast. There are a lot of people that they have to service in the story, and that leads to things like, oh, well, your character is going to die this episode, so I guess you get an extra 8 minutes of screen time. Like
Right.
that kind of shit where we look at it and go, this is so artificial, this is ridiculous. And this is all like a symptom of how big the cast is.
And then when I think about the F and G's, the fucking new guys, like I think this is a symptom of that, because why do you bring in 5 or 6 new colorful characters if not to replace? Because you're gonna have to replace some. Or I mean, I guess you could also look at it another way and say like they've lost Carl. In just the last season, and like the last season of episodes, they've lost Carl, they've lost Rick. More people than that died in the war. Jadis, yeah, yeah. We really have fond memories of Jadis, and then there's 5 or 6 of those new people, and they're probably another 2 or 3 main cast characters could die.
I don't know. There's just so many people. Like they introduced not only the newcomers to the group, they also introduced some new teens. They've kind of put Henry into a place where a couple of those characters are going to become more prominent. It seems like the blacksmith.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a hard thing to do ensemble cast.
But you're right. Like they do have to be careful who they kill and because like you're right. Like if you just kill like Michonne and Daryl and Ass Kicker and Eugene.
I guess there are a few of them. Yeah, Aaron
and Daryl. Like if you kill those 5 off, then who the fuck stays around to watch the show?
Yeah.
But you can mix and match a few, like a big splashy death. You still got Maggie who's off, and she's going to be coming back. But it is something they have to be careful. And I think it's not at this point. Some of these characters have been doing this for so long that they just want this. They're wanting out, because
especially
they got
somebody like Denai. Like,
yeah,
she's a big movie star now, right?
Yeah,
like
she's
bigger
been
than Andrew Lincoln was when he started this.
She's made $2 billion from the mouse since The Walking Dead blew up, and there's going to be more of that in the offing for her. So
and they're putting
there's
her in
probably
these awful
a lot
wigs.
There's a lot of people probably looking for an easy exit, because they all got like they're gonna make so much fucking money. The residuals on this thing.
Oh yeah. The Netflix syndication, right?
Yeah,
I'm sure they're already making that money.
Every time someone says "fuck it" and spends $20 on a season on Amazon, ting ting, it's like it's just going to keep rolling in. So it'll be interesting to see them turn the curve on this, the corner,
and it's already started to happen. Like you see, Lauren Cohen left at some point to try and go
soft exit,
lead another show. I don't know that show did particularly well, but
right,
but
she's doing it, Norman Reedus is riding, as we found out with Alan Joe.
I feel like that's a package deal though. Like he doesn't get to do ride without Walking Dead and vice versa.
Hey, you want me to show up this fucking Georgia bullshit? You better finance my motorcycle trip around the world.
And all my buddies.
And all my buddies, yeah, need Michael Rooker get his beak wet.
Yep.
Don't
Jeffrey
forget
Dean
about
Morgan.
Stephen Yin.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how you pronounce it? Don't forget, yeah,
Yeah.
like everyone's got to get taken care of, sure.
Yep. All right. Let's talk about the episode
Let's
proper.
do it.
We start off with Daryl, Aaron, and Jesus spying a small herd of walkers in their path to finding Eugene. The walkers are just milling around, which is strange to them, and they decide to go around them.
Yeah, it was eerie seeing these guys doing like these like interlocked counterclockwise spiraling, just milling around.
Yeah.
And knowing what I know at the end of the episode, the fact that, like, the true nature of these whisperers, I'm wondering why. Will some of this odd walker behavior ever like be explainable? Like, why would you put how do you keep a group of walkers on this kind of holding pattern? And what purpose does it serve? Or is it going to be kind of like the spiral shit we saw on on Game of Thrones, where it's like some kind of cool looking mystery, but it's more aesthetic than actually satisfying.
Right.
But it's effective because, like, that, like, when the shot lingers and you see that lone walker kind of turn its head to regard the group that just left, it's spooky. It fucking works.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're not sure, if this walker is a walker or if this walker is more evolved and it's maybe leading the pack here. You don't know what it is. And it worked. Aside from not being able to understand Daryl, even with subtitles on, it worked.
Yeah, that's going to be their anti-whisper technology. He speaks in, like, the Navajo code talkers. They got a Daryl code talker. He can just kind of
the walker talker.
Yeah, he can kind of boomhauer from King of the Hill into the. But who can? Yeah, you need. Boy, if they had Merle, they'd have something. Mm-hmm. They could just talk end to end on radios and be fully encrypted.
I feel like Carol can do it. Carol can understand.
Oh, yes,
Daryl
right.
speak.
Carol and Daryl protocol.
Mm-hmm.
He just comes in there, man. I tell you, the walkers run around in circles and it's just from milling the ground, man. So just, I tell you what, and she's like, I think he's saying, yeah, unbeatable. How do you break that encryption?
I don't know. The walkers obviously are still looking great. The show does a good job with its prosthetics, better than its CG certainly.
Yep,
that stuff looked good.
Just lean on the latex, boys.
Oh yeah. Then Gabriel does some kind of Reiki-based bell religious ceremony with Negan. I think this is meditation.
Yeah, guided meditation. Yeah.
Apparently he tried to help, or he did help Negan through his rough patch with all of his visits. And Negan has kind of given up on ever getting out, and he's just living this life. But he's still trying to get into everyone's heads, saying stuff about what he overheard Rosita saying about some other guy. Gabriel leaves and he's told that Rosita was hurt as a messenger. That he spots the messengers from the hilltop.
Yeah. He's such a shit stirrer, man. You can see his eyes light up when he kind of gets to Gabriel just a little bit under his skin. Mm-hmm. Of course, I think he's referring to the conversation that he like Rosita was having about the antenna repeater, right? Because didn't we get to see like that from a remove 2 episodes ago?
Maybe. I can't.
So I don't think Rosita is stepping out on Gabriel. Yeah. But he's just he's a fucking shit stirrer.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as it crests over, he breaks it open. And we also have I guess a satisfying answer of why the governor went from broken man to kind of like,
the governor?
God damn it, the Negan, how he went from broken man to what he is now, and that's Gabriel, is essentially, talked him the not the death, the life.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Religious people in general have this sort of savior complex.
Sure.
Where, they're taught to see their life's calling as saving other people. And so it makes a lot of sense that Gabriel would see this sort of his Mount Everest, right? If I can save this awful, awful person, perhaps I can find some kind of redemption, because he's got his own shit in his past that he's still dealing with, I think. Like, I mean, he's trying to, coach Trash Girl through this. He's trying to coach Negan through this. It seems to me like he's trying to... help, but also sort of prove to himself or redeem himself somehow.
You might be in this because even Rosita, last I knew, her arc was she was kind of like on a pretty broken trajectory
Yeah.
because she got her man, broadly speaking, stolen from her by Sasha, and then he got killed, and like she was kind of nihilistic for a while. So he does seem to like trying to fix things and restore the missing pieces of people.
Yeah. I
But
hate it. I hate it because it actually
yeah,
makes a certain amount of sense.
uh-huh.
And that's not what I want from Walking Dead.
Yeah. Is this show going to be conventional, boring? Come on,
Yeah.
gotta have some insanity.
Uh, yeah, I guess we'll get to the insanity here in a bit. So we go back to Hilltop, and everyone hurriedly hides behind the gates when Michonne's group shows up. Michonne tells probably very competent Bow Girl why they're here, and they're led inside the gates where Tara fills her in on the situation with her missing party members. And she lets the group stay overnight until Jesus gets back to decide what to do with the new members.
What the hell is going on at Hilltop's reaction? Like these riders are coming, the riders and everyone, like it's like a routine. They all retreat back to the walls. Um
Mm-hmm.
and then it's like when Michonne shows up, I thought they were going to relax a little bit. But if anything, the tension increased. Like
Yeah.
I really hope they come up with something that lives up to this build up and this hype because I just can't understand it. It's very bizarre to me that they'd be having this reaction.
Yeah, I mean, they hint at it later. I guess it's in like the next scene or something when she's talking with Carol.
Yeah.
They sort of hint around the edges of what might be the real core of the issue here, which, I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that this is all due to Rick and his disappearance, right? Like, she's still dealing with the residual effects of that.
I think it's that, but there's this X-shaped scar and something about these like, maybe being menaced by some kind of roving band of whatever. But that doesn't make sense because there's certainly can't be a threat on the scale of the Saviors.
Yeah.
So
Or even
what?
the herds.
Yeah. So like it's got to be something that's like on that scale but different, and they're harvesting kidneys. I don't know what the fuck they're doing, but like the fact that they would take away from that we need to isolate rather than get together and be stronger. I don't understand because it's almost at this point, if Hilltop's having or if Kingdom's having trouble like achieving stability, shut it down. Shut it down. Build a village outside of the hilltop. Like go back to like the feudal days, where you had a strong keep and the peasants and the community kind of like gathered around that. And when like at tough times, everyone would retreat to that for safety. But like I don't understand why they keep trying to make it at places that are falling apart, literally falling apart. There's places like Hilltop and Alexandria, they're thriving, and they should just continue to expand their walls, continue to expand lodging and stuff for people, and stop trying to make these loser communities work. If the shelter's no good, go to where it's working. Expand your. So I don't know, but that stuff is all interesting, and it's like I guess it's frustrating is that stuff got yada over.
Right.
The nation building that they were trying to do and why it got fragmented. So I'm really looking forward to getting the complete answer to that and getting more of that.
I'm with Prison Tats here. Like, I don't want to get involved in any community where the leader is named Jesus. Like, I have a reflexive, like this, I really identified with, I think it's later when Prison Tats is talking about, this might be a cult kind of thing. That's exactly what I was thinking when they were talking about Jesus.
This Jesus shit's all a cult, Have we actually talked about the Michonne and Carol conversation yet?
No, let's do it now.
Okay.
Sadiq and Michonne briefly reunite with Carol. Sadiq takes the newcomers to find out where they're staying, while Michonne and Carol catch up. Carol tries but fails to convince Michonne to commit Alexandria to the upcoming Renaissance Fair. I assume.
And we didn't get it. We didn't get the mid-season Ren Fair. I'm still holding out for the end of season Ren Fair though.
This is the right move. the fact that I'm annoyed that they didn't show me this fair tells me that this is the right move.
Yeah, they got you. Got the or the hook
I
is
know, man.
sank.
I have not been
Yeah.
excited for anything about Walking Dead in 8 years. This
Uh
is the
huh.
first time. I want to see this
Uh.
fucking fair because I know it's going to be ridiculous.
Well, especially since like, how is this fair tied to the continued success of the kingdom? Because it seems
Yeah.
like it is. Like Ezekiel sent this letter that's like, hey, we'll be set by problems on all sides. The only solution is to hold a Renaissance fair.
No, this
Please
this
send your delegation of lord and ladies forthwith through the king. Like what? I mean, that's very Ezekiel thing to do. Like, you know
Mhm.
what? We're having our pipes are bursting and the water doesn't work anymore and our crops are failing, but hey, we got a super bus
Mhm.
and we're gonna have some jousting and some turkey legs. Fucking come on down. Like,
It
I
really
could
does
totally see him
feel
do
like
that.
a medieval like morale booster. Like, oh, the peasants are
Right.
getting restless. Let's
Bread and
distract
circuses,
them.
baby. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is they keep ticking off things that can't be because like the characters like Carol and Michonne, who have been together since mid season 2, are talking about like, hey, I could turn you, but we got our troubles too. And it's like, we both lost stuff. We both lost children. We both still kept going. We're a family. We're still a family. But the one thing I guess she says is, but Alexander's Alexander, Hilltop's Hilltop, Kingdom's Kingdom, and in between there's a whole lot of broken world. And I guess that means that Rick ultimately was right. That bridge was a linchpin because once easy trade between this, like going into the wilds,
Yeah.
was seen as too dangerous. But yet, God, there's so many obvious advantages to trade. It looks like Hilltop's the only thing that can actually fabricate metal.
Mhm.
That like Alexander, I think, has the best farms. Perhaps I don't know what the kingdom's making, but like it does seem like trade would be very important and beneficial between the communities. So like, what the fuck stopped all that? And it can't be
Yeah.
herds.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. Um, I think every season of The Walking Dead should end with a fair from here on out. I think
Yeah.
if you got a show that's going beyond 10 seasons, you got to just end it with a fair because you're going to need the morale boost for the audience.
Yeah, you got Downton Abbey had the Christmas episodes. The Walking
Hell
Dead
yeah.
got to have their fairs.
Yeah.
Shit, yes, absolutely.
Do you think they'll win this year's best fair Emmy?
Well, it's hotly contested.
Yeah, sure is.
You look at the fair they threw in fucking Watchmen. Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Yeah,
That ends
no,
with a
they
spectacular fair.
did have a fair in Watchmen, the Hoboken deal,
Sure.
or
Yeah,
this
it's a flashback
psychic squid killed it. I mean, you can't. It's hard to top that fair. So it's stiff competition. We'll see what they did, especially since it was 2 years ago that it aired.
fair. Yeah.
I have to go back in time, invent a fair DeLorean for it.
All right, next up, they walk around the herd, and Aaron and Jesus are talking about what a good tracker Daryl is and how he's fighting his true calling, just like Jesus is, by neglecting Hilltop. Daryl hears the herd coming, and he realizes they're coming for them. He hears them on the wind. They're making him into this like ultimate tracker, and I know he's been that for a while, but like hearing the dead on the wind is a
The
little
zombies,
bit
my
much.
friend, are blowing on the wind. They're
Yeah.
moaning and they're groaning on the wind. Yeah, no, it is. I rolled my eyes a little bit, but you know what? It's fucking cool that sonic grenade.
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of nitty gritty low tech solutions to zombies that I just live for. And him winding that thing up and throwing it, like I thought that was really cool. They did lay it on a little thick because I don't know. It seems to me like he just has to follow the dog. The dog is doing the heavy lifting here.
It's true.
Maybe that's what the secret is. Like he's just following the dog, and just like making up all this shit about. Oh yeah, zombies on the wind. Sure, yeah.
Right. And I think it's the Daryl speak is half dog speak, so like they can
Yeah.
just chat with each other.
Well, I mean, he's more of a wildcat, but maybe the dog's bilingual.
That's the thing. I would think if you would detect walkers in any way, it'd be with your nose. Like a large herd of walkers probably smells pretty bad from
Yeah, if
far away.
if the sound is carried on the wind,
Yeah.
the stench,
For sure.
the rotting meat is definitely coming on the wind.
Then shitty bow girl decides to go back to the kingdom with Carol. She's not shitty bow girl. I don't know who she is.
Substantial bow girl, I think, is
Substantial. Sure.
what we've decided on.
Henry spends his first paycheck on nails and screws for Carol to take back to the kingdom, and she says a teary goodbye.
Gonna make you proud. You're having. You know what? Damn the show again. This is my dad in me. Like this gets me all choked up. I actually. I don't know why, because Henry's fucking annoying, and he's always been his shit on this show. But it's the parent stuff always gets me going. It's weird though, with so much animosity between the kingdom, that like substantial bow girl can just go and say, you know what, kingdom needs me more, I'm heading off, and like it's a non-issue. Or like in fact Tara's the one, because like I felt like Tara was also pretty cool towards Michonne, but she's saying, yeah, go support the kingdom. I don't know, maybe this is like a subtle dig at Alexandria too. Maybe everyone thinks that Michonne is the one that's carrying this grudge more, and
I think so. That tracks with what the council.
That's what it feels to me. It maybe Maggie too, but Maggie's gone now.
Yeah.
So, but it seems like Maggie and Michonne are the ones that are really holding this grudge.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Grudging. So the size of the herd is doubled. Daryl's noise grenade goes off, leading the walkers in the other direction. Just a quick.
And they're like, "Hey, so who cares how many zombies? As long as they're going the other way, we don't have to worry about it."
Yeah.
Well, zombies aren't your average, ordinary zombie herds, Jim.
True, they have no idea what they're dealing with.
And
then Henry starts his blacksmith training, and Enid comes over and disappoints him by making out with the young hipster blacksmith whose name
Boston
I can't remember.
Rob.
Okay.
Boston Rob. He's like, of course, here's the other thing. Enid's like 22 years old now, right? And Henry's like 15.
Yeah.
It is. We got an Anakin Padme situation going on. Yeah, it's true.
You know, it's like you hook up where you can hook up.
That'd be a real bummer for Enid, I think, to like be romanced by a 15-year-old blacksmith. I don't know. I don't know. Seems like maybe Boston Rob's looking pretty good, because he can smith us with the best of them at this point.
But
I did notice that like
significantly older than her, right?
Boston Rob?
He's got to be mid-30s at the youngest.
Maybe you're right. I always thought Boston Rob was young, but yeah, he, even if he was in his mid-20s, he's still. But yeah, I don't know. Apocalypse age gap. You might be onto something.
Yeah.
Because
it's real.
The thing I noticed is they're blacksmithing and they're not wearing hearing protection. These people are all going to be deaf by the time they're 40. Like oh man, I'm not always good with my hearing protection, but if I'm banging metal on metal, that shit just seems like it's worse than jet engines for killing your ears. It made my ears cringe watching it happen.
You think this is them really blacksmithing on the show, or is this like an effect?
What do you mean? It did look like they were hammering some. I guess I didn't look for the seams, but it looked like they were hammering glowing metal and shit. I don't know how sound the blacksmithing was, but like, yeah, it looked like they were really doing it. I guess that is pretty dangerous, though, to have the stars of your show working with 1,000-degree pieces of metal.
I would think so, yeah.
And banging on them without wearing hearing protection.
I don't know. It worked. I thought it was cool. And then Negan continues to try to get under Gabriel's skin. Gabriel gets fed up with it and reveals the situation he's in with Rosita.
Things have been in my ass are now in your nose. Like
so
fucking
I've understood
Negan, man. He's such a child.
For a long time, I've understood this to be true.
Yeah.
That, anything you smell, it's the nature of smelling something.
It's a physical particle entering your nasal passage. Yeah.
It horrifies me, but it's how it goes.
It is. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about Negan? Is he? I don't know what to think about Negan, because I thought that this kind of affected him. That like, oh god, I was a little too hard on Gabe. But then, did Gabriel just forget to lock him in too?
So this is maybe the lingering point of the episode that I have a problem with.
Yeah,
because they had an opportunity here to make it Negan's own cunning, Negan's intentional, disruption of Gabriel's mental state that caused him to be lax enough to leave this gate open.
Yeah,
there was no intentionality to
what
Negan did here.
show us hearing him at the window, like hearing that, like, oh God, Rosita's hurt, and like and everyone's got and you have to stay here. And although I don't understand, I'd like to hear that conversation anyway, because like the thing seems like that anyone could stay and watch the governor, but maybe the man who is shacked up with the woman who's hurt should have priority for going to the place to be with her, you know?
Sure,
Like, of
yeah.
all the people they chose to stay behind Alexander, they chose him.
Yeah, that's
um
weird.
I think you're right. They could have done some more of making it seem like that Negan was fucking with Gabriel because he knew there was a weakness there and he could exploit it,
Yeah.
instead of being like Gabriel spacing it, getting so mad about smelling his shit and scratching and never finding a real human being that he just forgets to lock him in.
And then Negan accidentally discovers that that's true instead of like that being the
It almost
point of these conversations.
it
But
almost felt like there's a missing scene that connected the two.
yeah, but even if there was, that last scene doesn't work where
Yeah.
he discovers, that the door's been left open. I don't know if they're trying to do something here with Negan that says like he's, a man who's just resigned to his fate. They're going about it all wrong because he's trying to get under everyone's skin, which to me says he's looking for weaknesses. He's probing around the edges for some kind of plan he's got, but then the plan turns out to not be a plan.
Yeah. Well, and I want to wait till we get to the scene to talk about it, but like, yeah, the scene where it's revealed that he's free,
Yeah,
was kind of strange too.
Yep. Okay, let's move on to Henry not able to eat because he's depressed about Enid, but he's befriended by a group of teens who are worried about him. They invite him to hang out with them in the woods when night falls, and he agrees.
I call them, these guys, the freaks and geeks, because that's kind of, it feels like they're the outcast teenagers, or maybe this is all the teenagers.
Yeah, they're just bored teenagers.
There's just jerk ass teenagers.
Yeah, they stand a little bit in contrast with Henry. Like, Henry's the teenager who's been entrusted with a fair bit of responsibility and is currently getting more. Mm-hmm. They're just sitting up on the wall. Like, they're just a pair of eyes,
Yeah, what did they do to earn their keep? Is that what they are? Literally lookouts? Because there's precedence for that, because isn't that what Rick was using Alexander's people for? Like,
yeah,
one of the, like, a 13-year-old girl was one of the relay people, like.
But that's tough, man. As a teenager, if your job is to just sit there bored 99.9% of the time,
they're gonna fuck around.
You got to give teenagers something to do, something to make them feel like they've got some worth, right?
Yeah, that's what my question is like, this seems like an obvious weakness of Hilltop. Maybe I wonder if it's a reaction to whatever happened, that like, oh Jesus, we have to like really take care of our precious angels because if something happens to them, and it seems like it's kind of ruining them, or it's not helping them feel fulfilled or connected to the community, or even their own humanity. This is another, I like this too, because this is something else that The Walking Dead has always kind of touched on, the idea that like, what if these experiences make Carl a psychopath? What if growing up in this world just like fundamentally changes you? And you see some signs of at least some of these teenagers that they're like, I don't know where on the pulling legs off of spiders versus setting a cat on fire spectrum, that using a former human's body as target practice and like a urinal, but like it seems like it's kind of some savior shit more than Hilltop Alexandria shit,
Yeah, it's definitely some bored teenager, a bored unsupervised teenager shit.
Yeah,
at the very least. Like, you get up to some dumb shit when you're a teenager.
But I feel like broken windows, property damage is like one kind, but like, like I said, like that's like one of the defining things of like a psychopath is like, did they torture animals as a child? And again, I don't know where zombies stand on that, but like, it's a little uncomfortably close to me. But then I didn't grow up in a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, it's definitely distorted their views on things for sure.
I guess I did come out last episode saying that we should like lash a bunch of zombies to and use them for free labor.
Yeah. So you can't really think they're too,
I don't think they're human. It's more, it's like it's just like they're like, to the extent that we respect animals' rights, I don't think it has anything to do with the animals, It's more to like what it says about us, because whether we treat cows humanely or not, it's not like 300 years from now there's going to be a tell-all from the cow's perspective of the human's tyranny, right? Like, we're doing this about it's more about what it says about us as people, and our humanity and what we extend to other creatures than it is like, cows aren't human. So
Yeah.
it is. It's an interesting. I wonder if they'll lean into it or if they'll just have the simplistic. Well, using zombies in any way other than just giving them peace is a decidedly evil thing. Like using them for manpower, using them for scarecrows, using them for anything but just the fact that they're a former corpse of a person that needs to be shown respect is a bad thing.
Yeah, it does
Which
seem
is
like they drew a line there between the
yeah.
our survivors and the sanctuary people.
And they keep doing it. Yeah, it's been a big
Yeah.
theme this season. Like that's one of the earliest scenes is Daryl being pissed off that they're using them for scarecrows, which seemed like, well, it seems like a reasonable use for them, but
Mm-hmm.
and it's not. And this is also like, because I thought it's like, well, maybe it's just because it's inherently too dangerous. But no, it does seem like this is more of like, nah, it's just not the right thing to do.
Yeah. All right, Sadiq and Michonne sit over Rosita's bed. Sadiq tries to convince Michonne to reconsider her isolationist stance, but it doesn't work, of course, because literally everyone in this show has tried to convince her of that now.
Mm-hmm.
It never works. Rosita wakes up and wants to go out for Eugene because she's freaked out about what kind of danger the search party might be in. They don't know what they're dealing with.
I have no idea. You don't know what's out there. She's channeling Rick Grimes. It is, these conversations with Michonne are very stilted because, and I don't know, maybe that's realistic because they're talking about a thing and it seems like there should be more detail. Like, hey, come on, Michonne, haven't you considered a thing relevant to the discussion? But it's all just, have you thought any more about this thing we've all talked about a bunch of times? No, I haven't. And they also reveal that Michonne is aware that like a lot of people think her decision's unpopular.
Yeah.
Like if you took a poll in Alexandria, maybe, but that leads to even more questions. Like who runs Alexandria? Is it the city council or is it Michonne, the security chief? Like, is there a shadow dictatorship going on there? It's
it seems
I think
like
it's pretty interesting.
There is like, some of the members, aka Michonne, have more sway over the council than the rest of them.
And you'll always have that. You'll always have the elder statesmen and women, like even if you set things up like, I just watch Hamilton. George Washington had an enormous amount outside influence in the early founding of the country just because he was so well respected from his role and leadership that he showed during the Revolutionary War. And Michonne certainly has that. But, also, if you've seen Hamilton, part of that is George Washington stepped down because he knew that was what was right for the country to stand on its own feet. And that's something that Rick had a problem with. And I wonder if what they're telling us is that Michonne is having that same problem. That like, oh God, what if I step away and there's a power vacuum and something bad fills it? I wonder if her putting her thumb on the scale, and we've seen her do that with the new guys and all that stuff. I wonder if that's something they're trying to make explicit.
Yeah. Next up, Daryl's group finds Eugene in a shack, and he insists that the herd is not normal and that they have to get out of there before they can leave. The herd closes in, of course, and they're forced to take another route home. I don't understand in this scene. Eugene spends a good 45 seconds to 2 minutes talking about how we can't pop my knee back in place because that's going to take too long. But here's the deal. Here's everything I know about the walkers. They're not normal. We got to get out of here. Oh, and they got a bunch of questions about how he survived. And like, there's just a lot of talking here when Daryl should just be over there reaching for his knee, popping it back in place. And 10 minutes later, he'll probably be walking around on it.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if Eugene's got the structural integrity of, because isn't a knee dislocation like, can you just really pop it back in and start walking like a shoulder?
From what I understand, yeah, like most of it is, the fact that it's out of place is what's causing all the pain and the inflammation and all that. And once you get it back in, I don't know if it's 10 minutes, it might be like a day.
Especially
or
if he's been sitting there for a day, it's gotten swollen and tight. It'd be interesting to see. But
certainly they can pop it back in, right? They've got the time. They're talking about it.
Does Daryl know how? Because that's the thing is like, I didn't even know you could dislocate a knee. Like I thought if like your knee got fucked up, it's structurally busted. Like you torn a ligament or whatever. I knew that about shoulders, but honestly, if I don't know how to pop a shoulder back in place. I wonder if Daryl just doesn't know. You like they
hips and all kinds of joints. Like
holy fuck,
that would hurt.
I was gonna say
hip dislocation is brutally painful, but
it
is one of those things where you pop it back in and it's like, the major relief.
The relief, like pulling a bad tooth, huh? But this establishing shot of this scene of them creeping across the misty moors of Georgia,
Uh-huh.
is just really fucking atmospheric and effective. It's one of, it's been a while since Walking Dead impressed me with just like a shot,
Yeah.
and I don't know how they got this shot.
Well, I feel like it's
It
the
could
drone work they've been doing. Like all of this
it
drone work,
could
I
be,
can't
yeah.
recall seeing a nice wide shot of
Uh huh.
anything in the last
Uh huh.
6 seasons of The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
But here
Yeah.
they've done like a whole bunch of them, right? There's shots,
Yeah.
overhead shots of the
Yeah.
kingdom,
You're right.
overhead shots
You're
of the
right.
hilltop.
Yeah, thank God they invented drones, 6-axis stable drones, because God knows AMC wasn't going to pay for a boom truck to go out into
Hell
some
no.
field and out, like shit, that costs money, man. How far off a highway is it? Nah, fuck that.
Right.
But you got this shot and it's beautiful.
Mhm.
It's really, like this is where like the dread started to creep in, and a lot of it is because of what they're doing in the atmospherics, and they just
Yeah.
nailed the aesthetic of this, and that old kind of like Hammer horror, werewolves creeping across the moor is
Mhm.
is just so good, so good.
Yeah, shout out to the cinematography this season. I think it's been better, certainly.
And I also like the fact that like Daryl does, Eugene says it is, I know how this sounds, but the zombies are whispering to each other, and like, in some of the early seasons, there was like a little frustration of people just like being in willful disbelief of zombies and whatnot. And I like the fact that like they're skeptical, but also like Eugene's a respected member of their group, and Rosita would vouch for him. And
Mhm.
holy shit, maybe there is something to this. Like I appreciated the fact that like there wasn't any like intentionally stupidity that this show sometimes traffics in. It felt
Yeah.
really nice.
And later on, when he makes, I hate to say this about Eugene, but he makes some really uh, pertinent points about like, are you really going to say that the walkers can't evolve when the
Yeah.
walkers are, whatever he says, preambulating into, I don't know, whatever
Yeah. No,
words
he
he uses,
uses
but
50
the
words worth.
humans have come back from the dead. There are no
Yes.
limits.
Yes, and the brain kills them. The brain's active. What do we know about the
Uh-huh.
brain? It can acquire information. Like, it's a scientifically sound theory for having like 2 days of coming up with it in a barn basement. Yeah.
Right.
I thought it was. I was into it. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we go over to Henry and the teens partying in a shack in the woods, and they show Henry their walker in a hole. Addie isn't impressed, and she walks away, and then Henry gets roped into dealing with the walker because, I don't know, he's got morals or something. And the other
Yeah.
kids leave him in the hole with it.
When the one went, were these like suction cup arrows that they'd stuck into the zombie?
I thought they were darts.
Darts.
Yeah.
Because they were sticking out a skull, and I'm like, how the fuck did this not kill the zombie? And Henry's kind of skeptical about all this shit, and then they start pissing on it, and then he's like, nah, this is fucking gross.
Mhm.
And I like his, he's very paladin, but he's right. Like, it's like, what the fuck, man? He's like, hey, if I'd explain to you, there's no answer that would satisfy you.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know, like I'm Henry is going to have a hard life as a person who's this, righteous about things. But on the other hand, he's not wrong. And, standing up to these kids against his peer pressures says a lot about his character.
You think he's going to go tattle on him?
Well, that's the other thing. Like, I think he's like really, walking that like really paladin edge, is like, hey, I'm not a fucking snitch.
Yeah.
I stood up for what I thought was right, and I put a stop to what I thought was wrong, and I'm taking my punishment on the chin. But I'm like, I'm not here to snitch on anybody.
Yeah, I just don't know. It feels to me like the move for Henry here is to try and get his new friends involved in the community more.
Yeah. Hey.
Instead of going and ratting them out,
Right.
just go and say, hey, these kids are idle. They really don't know how to deal with that. We need to give them some responsibility.
Yeah, how cool like drinking until you throw up and pissing on zombies is,
And puking on shoes. Terrace shoes.
What's really cool is rebuilding a society from scratch.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I
mean,
know
you give them the right job, they could certainly start to feel invested in the community, right?
But you also wonder like how much of this reactionary shit is from like, the fact, well, we've all lost kids, right? That was something that they said about like the new crackdown. I wonder if these teenagers just grew up. They're like, 5 years old when the apocalypse broke out. They were 8, 9, 10 years old when they came to Hilltop. And then, they can't go outside, they can't do anything,
Mm-hmm.
and they're rebelling.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So then the Daryl group stops for a Eugene rest, and Eugene suggests that the walkers might be evolving. He wants the group to leave him behind because that's apparently what everyone wants in the apocalypse. But Jesus refuses, and Daryl decides he's gonna lead them off. There's like this thing where Jesus says, "Oh, I'll lead them off. You guys go get back to the horses." But I don't know. Apparently, drama is easily generated by splitting the party. That's what you do in one of these things.
Well, I think
He's
I think
got
this
an
is
okay point with like strength does them no good here. It's about tactics and strategy, but like
and I think that Daryl's broadly right that like you've got everyone stays together with a person slowing them down, or someone makes, and like understanding of the zombie tactics thus far, like someone stays behind, attracts their attention, leads them off, and Daryl, like he's this isn't some B team
yeah.
assistant to the blacksmith of Hilltop, right? This is Daryl fucking Dixon,
Mm-hmm.
and I like his bravado at the end. He's like, "Go, hell, I'll probably beat you back."
Because you got
like
slow ass Eugene.
yeah, it's like me and dog versus the world. Yeah, I thought it was splitting the party usually is something that's like eye rolling, but this seemed to be the call. This seemed to be the play to make. Although when they had the lifts Eugene's ham ass Boston butt roast over the fence, I bet they wish they had that third pair of hands to do some boosting.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it'd be like, you and Cecily trying to boost me over a fence or something. You need the third pair of hands, man.
Absolutely. Also, Daryl's gonna be, he's great, but he's gonna be the least missed of any of these people, right? Like he's been out in the wilderness by himself. If something happens to him leading the herd away,
that's also
no one's really gonna miss him.
You're gonna send Jesus present at the hilltop to potentially die. Like Daryl sees that stupid too. Like it makes sense on a lot of levels.
Yeah. Okay, Negan's bouncing his ball against the wall, but it bounces through the bars, which causes him to notice that Gabriel left his gate open, and he escapes. Yeah. We kind of talked about this. How I wish this had been a forced error on Gabriel's part as opposed to just an accident.
Yeah. And I don't know what the hell they're going with, because the Negan's looking menacing, but like, what is he going to do? Is I kind of thought, like, as we've been talking about how there's going to be a shot at some point of Negan getting that baseball bat underneath that tree. And we even joked about it being on a dark, stormy night with thunder in the background. And I'm like, those sons of bitches, they're going to do it. That's how the mid-season's going to end. He's going to have a leather jacket. He's going to pull Lucille out of the mud, and there's going to be thunder crashing behind him because the storm's rolling.
Like Dr. Frankenstein, lightning striking behind him. Yeah.
Yeah, the storm's brewing behind, and I thought, man, but then they didn't. Yeah. He just holds it up like Thor's hammer, and the lightning strikes and charges it. But shit, we just see him kind of smile as Negan smile, and the menacing music starts up. But now, also, is it your impression that Alexandria is abandoned? Because I took it that like Gabriel is the last of like the city council.
Yeah,
there's rank and file citizens, children, and all that kind of stuff still behind.
Oh yeah.
I don't know that Negan can take everybody. Like, what's he got? Like, he's got a tennis ball, and that's it. Like, the armory's still locked up. He's been in a cage for years.
Sneak out, right? Like, he's not.
And go for Lucille.
Trouble. He's just gonna sneak out and maybe go over to where Sanctuary used to be.
I think he makes a beeline for the tree, but I don't know, because they've also hinted that he's had a little bit of personal growth. The fact that he can see like what he's seen from Alexander has to be that his broad thesis was wrong. You don't need to brutalize people to keep him in line. But I'm curious to see where they go with that. It's just kind of lame that this was his escape. In fact, like, it's lame on multiple. Like the Gabe got so pissed off and worried about Rosita that he forgot to lock a door. And then the guy who took Negan's handcuffs off didn't realize that he forgot to lock the door? Didn't check it? The security guard did not do his job. And the fact that you design a prison with just one door,
Uh,
Like, you make it past that one cell door and it's it.
yeah.
Like it seems like you'd also lock the main door to make it a little bit harder to put some. So I don't know, but whatever. He's out. He's out. We'll see what they do with it.
Yep. All right. Tara brings the blacksmith to see Henry, who's in jail for throwing up on her boots. At least I think that's why. Henry won't talk to him until he threatens to send him back to the kingdom. And then Henry, he doesn't spill his guts, but he says he knows that he fucked up because it's, his responsibilities are overwhelming him. He's
Yeah, he saw his mom cry. I mean, he's lying, right? Like
is
this is
he?
still like,
Huh?
well, I mean, he's owning up to the fact that he fucked up.
Yeah, yeah.
But he can't say that, like, I don't know, like, what's the real story here? That I guess, yes, he does miss his family. He's disappointed that Enid doesn't have the hots for him. He had a difficult first bonding experience with the young people at this place. But I don't think seeing his mom cry and he needed to get drunk to block it out, I don't think that's the
No,
reason he's throwing up on Tara's shoes and being drunk and disorderly. So,
for sure. But then the
but
blacksmith says he'll talk to Jesus about a reduced sentence.
and I do like the idea that they have like some kind of formal codified
They
justice, like drunk and disorderly is 2 days in the clink. Seems pretty reasonable to me. Sober up, learn from your mistake, and then be released. I would love to see what other laws are on the books and how they differ between the communities.
Hmm. All right, then Daryl tries to lure the walkers off their path with the dog and firecrackers, but the walkers are too smart for that. They continue right on.
Yeah, it's wild. Like it was very. I think they nailed this. Like watching the herd steer perfectly around the trap was just unsettling,
Mhm.
and he's fucking with Daryl too. He's like, what the hell? Because no one's ever seen this before.
Yeah.
And Walking Dead sometimes stages these shots poorly. I thought like the vantage point they had, like Daryl's trap, all that stuff was well conceived, and we got this nice wide shot of everything happening. It was very clear, and thank you to whoever shot this.
Mm-hmm. And then final scene rather. Jesus, Aaron, Eugene all enter a walled graveyard to escape the dead, which I think is hilariously ironic.
Mm-hmm.
It just
You know why they put a fence around those places? Because people are dying to get in, Jim.
Oh yeah, they are.
And this is where the hammer shit just kicks into high gear.
Oh yeah,
Like all this stuff with the headstones, the wall, the wrought iron, the mist, the moonlight, the thunderstorm. It's just firing on all cylinders.
Mm-hmm. They're followed in by the dead, and they get stuck when they can't heft Eugene's bulk over the wall. Aaron and Jesus prepare to fight the herd, and they kill a few, and are confused when the walkers back off. And then Michonne, Prison Tats, and Headband Bow Girl, I don't know what to call her, magically appear and help them open the gate. Jesus decides to fight some walkers for no real reason, and in the process he gets stabbed and killed by one who's acting suspiciously human, and everyone else shows up. Literally everyone else from all of the community shows up all at the same time. They demask one of the walkers to reveal a human who was living as recently as a few minutes ago, but is now dead again.
Yeah, not a zombie at present.
No.
Are we sure Rosita's not in this group? Because that's the answer. Like,
I'm
if
pretty
Rosita,
sure she's not.
because like, and also Rosita could tell them exactly where she left Eugene, so they follow that, and then like, once you get there, following the herd, the track that imagine like what it would look like to follow like 400 people walking through a field. It'd be trivial. Like you don't have to be the world's best tracker to track that kind of shit, right? So I think like you said, they did enough on like if Rosita came with them, then there's no question in my mind that like yes, and they had everyone by circumstance already at the hilltop, so everyone rolling out at once would just would work. Now
from what I remember, it's Michonne, Prison Tats. Well, it was just
Magna,
Michonne.
yeah.
Michonne
Michonne's
didn't
the
know
first
anybody
one.
else was coming. It was just her.
Uh-huh.
And then Prison Tats and Headband Bow Girl show up.
Yeah.
As like.
Yeah, you're right. The timing on that is weird.
Earning their keep? What do you mean earning your keep? You've already. I don't know. You were already in a pretty good position. Now you're going to go out and risk your lives. Magna's going to go out and risk her life.
I think it's on brand for her because they've established that she wants to control her own fate. Like sitting back and letting people decide things for her is like an anathema to her. So,
but it was
coming
never
out
in a way that was like, oh, I'm going to prove to these people that we're worth were worth
She
keeping around. It was
she
more
did
like,
show up the Michonne like that late at night to give her personally surrender yet another knife that she had. So like
well, she showed
I
up to
do
murder
think
her, I think,
you
and
think
then
so.
changed her
Oh, and then
mind
change
in
her
that
mind because of the
moment when she saw a
kids.
baby. Yeah,
Um,
but I don't know. You could be right.
I don't make me defend the fucking new guys too much because I'm still kind of like jury's out on them. But I would tell you what, I thought the Aaron and Jesus stuff would be kind of like eye rolly, but I kind of got into the kung fu synchronized, like these guys have
Yeah.
been working together and like working on a routine and just like they're efficiently mowing these guys down silently, no guns. It's just like really fun to watch them kick ass. And
Yeah.
that brings me to the question of, is Jesus dead?
Before we get there, I just wanted to comment a little bit more about the coolness of this
Okay.
scene because it is cool. Like,
Yes,
there's,
yes.
I really liked Aaron using his arm effectively, using
Mm-hmm.
it as a bite shield, essentially. Like, stick that in the
Yeah.
walker's mouth, let them bite onto it, and then
He's Will Smith for
dispatch
my
them.
roboting them. Yeah.
Absolutely. That heel kick that Jesus does to the walker's head, like when it's on the tombstone, it just splatters
Yeah.
it.
Curb stomps it.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful. I love that gory, terrible shit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then his leap into the air, that chest kick to knife slash, spinning. I don't even know what to call it, but it's pretty cool.
He Beybladed him a couple times.
Okay, I think Jesus is dead. Like, they swizzled his guts in a way that,
Whoa, what?
yeah, that sword guy went
I
in
thought he stuck it. He stuck
real
like a
deep
foot
from the
long
side.
blade in his side.
and kind of up. I don't know. There's a lot of organs
Yeah.
in there, and you don't have the greatest med tech in the apocalypse.
But Sadiq's pretty good, and Hilltop's well equipped. I don't know. It's
But
not the
they've got to
wound.
carry him back.
Oh,
you
I know,
can't
I get
tourniquet
it.
this thing. Like, there's no way to
Yeah,
stop
yeah,
this bleeding.
right. Yeah, no, I get it. But on the other hand, it seemed like Michonne and crew were able to get here pretty fast. I don't think they're that far away. And, it's like, look, here's the thing. If you wanted him dead, you just stab him right through the heart. You stab him in the head. You cut his throat. You
Sure.
do something that like shows definitively that this is a lethal wound. You stab someone in the middle of the midsection. I start getting squirrely, Kevin Garvey vibes from The Leftovers. Like, someone's done some research and shown that like if you stick it right between the ribs and the abdomen and you get it right underneath the lungs and heart but above the guts, that there's that's a survivable thing. And yeah, I don't know. But on the other hand, Aaron's right over him and would be the one to make the call that he's dead or not, and he says
and he's
doing
doing nothing. Yeah, he's not like leaping in there to try and stop the bleeding. He's not.
Right.
Everyone's just kind of like, well, Jesus is dead. Let's have this conversation now and peel off these masks. Like, the first thing you do isn't run up to a walker and peel off the mask. If you think
you're
your
like,
buddy is laying there dying.
We got to get him home. We got to get him out of here. Yeah.
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 So in my mind, he is dead in their minds, if that makes any sense.
It doesn't, because like I'm never that attached. I thought the guy who played Jesus was pretty cool. I liked the kind of like kung fu flair he brought to it. It is weird to have him step forward into this leadership role. But then again, I don't know. Maybe that's going to be the thing that heals the community. Like, that he was the one running these kind of back channels and trying to establish the stuff. And he dies for what he believes in. He dies just to save an Alexandrian, the leader of the Hilltop. It also paves the way for Maggie to come back next season.
Well, Tara. Tara is going to step in. Tara seems like she has been the leader,
yes,
the de facto leader of this community.
That's true.
In all but name. Like,
so do we need Maggie back at all?
Not
like, I just assumed that we
think.
were going to get her back at the next season, that they're going to give her enough time to go film whatever she needed to film, and then she'd come back, and she's just kind of cooling out at Georgie's. But
I'm pretty sure she doesn't come back in season 10.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, they've really fridged her then.
I think so, because I saw an interview with her from 9 months ago that was like, "Are you excited to be coming back to The Walking Dead?" 9 months ago probably was before they had released, but not before they had started filming that season, that second half of 10.
Well, and they never even finished the second half of 10. So like, what if she comes back at the finale? Yeah. So I don't know. We're speculating about shit that people already know about. But I just think that I don't know. Tara, fist bump. How do we feel about her being the leader of a community?
She seems to at least be willing to take on the responsibility, unlike
That's
Jesus.
true. She seemed to like she's really willing to tear in and fill in that administrative role that like clearly Jesus wasn't comfortable with. But I
No,
don't
and she
know
was
because like
doing most of it anyway. He was just making the decisions, right?
is this a way like if Jesus dies, is this a way for them to like go back to Daryl and be like you need Jesus? But that doesn't make sense because like it felt like there was a plot here where Aaron was trying to impress upon Jesus that he's ducking his responsibility and his full potential the same way Daryl is doing.
Yeah.
Why do that if you're going to kill him at the end of this episode?
I'm with you. It seems like I don't know.
But you're
I don't know.
but you're right. Like, but the other thing is like there's such a huge group. Is it possible? I need to go back and watch it. Like, is it possible that there's still a contingent like trying to stabilize Jesus, and then Daryl is just like him and Michonne are more interested in like what the fuck is going on with these evolved zombie kind of thing.
Maybe.
But I am really curious to get to find out more about this Whispers. Like what a weird fucking like inventive post-apocalyptic group, like a group
Right.
of people who are like going all in on the Rick and Glenn strategy of covering themselves with like covering themselves in a full zombie suit, expertly steering herds around to what purpose and what end. Like what do they get out of running people down and getting zombies to eat them? Are they eating them too? Are they just doing this to get their gear? Or are they like trying to like destroy communities so they can inherit them? Like what is their deal? How do they do it? I think this is all inherently fascinating.
Yeah, so dude when he stabs Jesus says you are where you don't belong or something like that.
Yeah, are they like those weird kind of eco terrorists that like the Human Extinction Project that thinks that we just irrevocably fucked up the planet and the best thing we can do is just stop having babies and die.
Yeah.
Or like the militant version of that is like we should actively support things that kill that cull the herd. I wonder if they're like that like zombies are the superior form of life. We had our run, we're kicking against the goads.
I mean, it's clearly not true. It's so demonstrably untrue.
Yeah.
But I would be
people
laughable
crazy.
if that was their philosophy.
I mean, I saw a trash-based philosophy that communities embraced. It's
You're
weird.
right. All
Sure,
bets are off.
It's weird. Sure, is this any worse than a guilty remnant of the leftovers? I mean, there's people do weird shit in extreme situations.
I want to see the people who've gone all in on the cat's life. Just are pulling the Q for Mission Impossible, or not the Q, the M for Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Is it M or is that Moneypenny? I can't remember.
You're talking about Jane
Judi Dench. Judi Dench, yeah. I want to see the people who are just running around as furries constantly.
Oh,
in this
right.
apocalypse.
Yeah. They're fucking yiffing in the post-apocalypse. Sure.
Oh yeah. There's got to be
yiff on.
some remnant of that lifestyle out there.
Yeah.
The
The furry remnant. Sure. Yeah, I can see it. Stitching themselves into fursuits.
Hell yeah.
But this is also a pretty effective cliffhanger because, as you said, almost everyone we give a shit about is in this fucking Hammer horror graveyard, and they're completely hemmed in by an intelligent herd, or at least a herd that's being directed intelligently. That's some shit.
Yeah.
I'm legit kind of beside myself to watch the next episode.
Yeah. Fortunately, it's already out. We won't have to wait that long.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what the plan is here, but I think our plan is to see if we have enough feedback to do a feedback episode that's dedicated to that. If not, probably do maybe some other stuff to fill a single week and then get right back to it.
Yeah. To keep on trucking through at least season 9 because I looked at my TV guide. Shit, fuck all still on television by and large. We have a couple things coming up. Umbrella Academy, The Boys, which I am legit excited about, but that's more of a September thing or late August. So yeah, it's going to be more Walking Dead coming your way, and with perhaps a brief interlude to consider feedback. So hey, send in that feedback to watchingdead@baldmove.com or walkingdead@baldmove.com. And we will consider whatever feedback we got, either part of a larger episode or as a standalone, and we'll keep doing that. I think when we wrap up season 9 will be another good opportunity to consider feedback as well, because we are recording these in advance to kind of get us future proof on our schedule. But yeah, we would like to hear from you, and thanks to everybody who has sent in stuff thus far.
All right. And I think that'll do it for this half season. Thanks everybody for listening. Tune in for that feedback episode or whatever it is next week. And until then, I'm Jim.
I'm Aaron. See ya.